Before we deploy our StreamNative BYOC URSA cluster linked to an S3 table bucket, we need to create that bucket. And then while we're here in AWS, I'm going to go through the process of creating a user-defined bucket for the backend of our cluster if you desire to use one, and how to apply those permissions. So first off, let's create that Amazon S3 table bucket. So here I am in Amazon S3, and instead of a general purpose bucket, this is our table bucket here. You may already have integration with AWS Analytics service enabled. If not, I would suggest not enabling it using this button. Instead, when you click Create Table Bucket here, we're going to call this My Bucket 3. That's the one I'm going to be using for this demo. There would be a little checkbox here for you to enable it. So here's the My Bucket 3. I'll go ahead and create that table bucket. Analytics service would enable for you. Make sure to check that if it wasn't checked in there. And then here's my table bucket. Next, you have the choice of using the StreamNative provided general purpose bucket for the backend for the cluster, or you can provide a user created one. I'm going to go ahead and show the process of creating the user created one and applying the permissions. But if you're going to use the one that's provided by default with your cloud environment, you're actually done with this video and you're ready to go on and deploy the StreamNative BYOC URSA cluster that's going to link into this table bucket. So to make the custom user-defined bucket for the backend of the cluster, I'm going to go over to General Purpose Buckets, and then I'm going to click on Create Bucket. I'm going to call the bucket StreamNative Custom Bucket 3. I just put the 3 there so it's consistent with the My Bucket 3 that was used as the table bucket. And we're going to go ahead and just create that bucket. Now there is a caveat that this bucket and the S3 table bucket must be in the same region. And here I'm in US East 2. There are only certain regions that support S3 table buckets. And then in addition, I'm going to place the cluster in the same region so that there's no cross-region traffic. In addition, I'm going to create a folder inside of this bucket. So let me go ahead and click on it. Then I'll go to create folder, and we're just going to create a folder called test. And I'll say create folder. Only if you're using the user-defined general purpose bucket do you then need to run the Terraform module. Next, we're going to run a Terraform module that's going to provide StreamNative access into that bucket and the S3 table bucket. So the code for here is in the documentation, or the code for this. This is going to create a special role that is going to provide the required permissions. So it's going to create a policy. But under buckets, you'll have to create or add an entry for the general purpose bucket that we're going to use for the backend of the server. Again, that was StreamNative Custom Bucket 3/test. You'll need your account ID. And then finally here under the SN Manage Cloud Access S3 table, put in the full ARN of the S3 table bucket that you want to use for storing the data in Iceberg format. The documentation has a bit more details on how to set up the connection permissions, but I've already done the init and the plan, so I'm going to do a Terraform apply. And we've created the required permissions now into our bucket and our S3 table bucket. We're now ready to deploy our StreamNative BYOC URSA cluster that's going to connect into this S3 table bucket.